My husband probably says it best. Do not tell her no. Because if you tell me no, then I'm going to dig in and I'm going to figure out how to fix it, how to make it happen, how to accomplish it, how to get through the obstacles. So determination for sure.
Welcome to the Dream Home Podcast, the show where real estate meets real talk. Hosted by John Nagle, a seasoned expert with over $7 billion in real estate financing experience. This podcast features top realtors, builders, and financial pros. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you make smarter moves. Here's your host, John Nagle.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dream Home Podcast, where we explore the stories, strategies, and communities that help turn the dream of homeownership into reality. I'm your host, John Nagle with CMG Home Loans. Today we have a true powerhouse in Northeast Texas real estate joining us. Carrie Nuckolls is the co-owner of Century 21 First Group, one of the region's top performing real estate brokerages. She's been a top producer since 2003 with over $175 million in closed volume and $500 in total sales. Carrie is known for her exceptional customer service, innovative marketing, and passion for people. Her awards speak for themselves. Double Centurion in 2020, 2022, and 2024, Centurion in 2023, Grand Centurion in 2021, and Masters Emerald Award, among others. Carrie has an impressive 448 five-star ratings on Real Satisfied. She's also the host of Grief into Grace podcast, a beautiful platform for faith-based conversations around healing, community, and resilience. And if that wasn't enough, she owns a boutique, Everything Unique in Sulphur Springs. Carrie, welcome to the show. We appreciate you joining us today.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on and talk about something that I am passionate about and that has actually given me a beautiful life. I love that it's called the Dream Home Podcast. My husband and I actually bought our dream home at the lake 2 years ago, and real estate has afforded us that as we've taken care of people all along the way. So
yes. Well, congratulations on buying the lake house. That is has to be amazing to come home to that in the evening, right? To relax right by the lakeside.
Yeah, it is. It's actually taught me that maybe I don't want to work so hard. I want to stay at home a little more and rest and relax. And so, yeah, it's been a sweet spot in life. So.
Well, that's awesome. So, Carrie, you've been a top producing agent for over 2 decades. What would you say are your real estate superpowers? What do you think makes you stand out in a crowded marketplace?
I my husband probably says it best. Do not tell her no. Because if you tell me no, then I'm going to dig in and I'm going to figure out how to fix it, how to make it happen, how to accomplish it, how to get through the obstacles. So determination for sure. Passion, absolutely. I floundered around those first couple of years. And kind of didn't know what I was doing. I had a background in sales and visual design. So I think that helps being able to catch vision and cast vision for people and discuss what that really looks like and how to use a space. And so, I think anybody in real estate that is successful has multiple things that make you good at what you do. But yeah, probably, I don't know if I could just pick one, but maybe good old fashioned Southern grit and determination.
Yeah, grit and determination is a pretty good quality to have for sure. So you mentioned your passion for helping clients during both joyful and difficult transitions. How do you balance the emotional and business side of real estate?
I think that, I know that you have to be able to do both. So you have to be able to be emotional with them, sympathetic, an active listener, caring, a gal in our office, she's moved out to West Texas now, but she had a little plaque, one of those black and white things that said, "I'm your realtor, not your marriage therapist," on her desk. And that's so true. I used to talk at the schools, for career day. And I always told them the great thing about real estate is you get to do a lot of jobs in one career. So you're a teacher, you're a financial advisor, you're a decorator, you're a counselor, you're, you're all these things, right? And so you have to be able to be emotional with them. But then you have to be able to also be rational and logical. And, you already mentioned my faith-based approach through my podcast, Grief into Grace. But I have learned, and I felt the Lord say to me one day, I was helping a client that this was back, this was, 8 or 9 years ago when the market was a little slower, but, and we'd been on the market 9 months. Her and her husband, sweet couple, they had lived in this little farmhouse and had land and were downsizing. And he passed away by heart attack suddenly in the middle of the night. And so, we took the house off the market but then, we got it back on and later got it sold. But I really felt in this moment, I was so, even going to purchase what she needed to purchase and be in a contingency. And she ended up purchasing a for sale by owner that I helped navigate and all this. So there was a lot happening and it just felt so fractious. And I still remember where I was sitting one day and I felt the Lord say, we are called to stand in the gap for our clients. And what that looks like is we don't always go tell them every single traumatic thing that's happening, right? A cloud on title or something goofy with a lender or whatever, right? Sometimes we keep those things to our vest because they don't have to know them in the moment as long as we can work through them. And then we are the rational, logical one that holds space for them and keeps the peace and keeps the stress off of them. And so I think you have to be able to do both.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because it is, there's a lot of things that you go through on your side of the business that are, if you told the client every single little step along the way, every bump in the road, it would just be this whole thing. Now I have 7 things to worry about instead of just 1 or 2. So I think that's a great practice to have where you're really protecting them from, informing them on the important things that they do need to be kept up on, and then kind of shielding them from some of those other things that seem, are kind of the other side of things where they could take them in the wrong way if they worried too much about them. So I think that's a good policy.
Well, and I've learned through the years, once you get through the option period, of course, but your inspections and things, when you're in it and you're just in the waiting period, appraisal and title, and 99% of the time it closes.
Yeah.
It is very rare at that point that it just absolutely falls apart. So as a realtor, if you can keep in that mindset and realize you're just the fire putter outer and the fixer and all that, and just keep the peace and the patience down, especially in our society now where everybody gets a little more offended and a little more uptight about this and feels, all that, because you don't want a client to say, well, it's the principle of it, or, well, it just wasn't meant to be. Because those are deal killers. And when people get in those mindsets and they feel like, well, these 7 things have happened and this must be the sign that we're not supposed to buy this house or whatever, right? Or we're not supposed to take this offer. Like those are things that people do get it very deep in their emotions and their worries and their anxieties, which we all have more of that in this day and age, it seems. And those are things that could actually cause somebody not to accomplish their dream. Their dream is to have a new space for their family or their lifestyle or the place and season of their life and do something different. And that's our job. We are the carriers of those dreams. And so we have to help people keep rationale in the hard moments.
Yes, absolutely. And as someone who's helped clients through life-changing moments, what's a lesson you've learned that you apply to your daily, that you apply daily in your business?
You take care of people no matter what, right where they're at. I mean, you just have to, because everyone in real estate and what we're doing, every home buyer or home seller is going through something. They're either going through like something super exciting, the job promotion, they get to build their dream home, they're having a baby, or they're getting a divorce, or they've lost a parent and they're dealing with an estate, or they lost a job and maybe they're get pre-foreclosure, so everybody's going through something. It's the highs and the lows, it's the good and the bads. And you may get on one call with a client, it's the most exciting, greatest thing ever. And then you hang up and your very next call is like the worst situation. And so I think just, again, remaining consistent, but remembering to really take care of people where they're at in their season. And if you will do that and not focus on the paycheck, which is hard because you don't get a paycheck unless you actually close on something, then your business will take care of you over the years. If you'll take care of people, focus on the people, the business will take care of you.
Yes, absolutely. So, Carrie, you're involved in your community from Rotary to United Way to local leadership. Why is it important to you, and how does it influence your work as a realtor?
Well, real estate is a relationship business. That hands down, I always say that. And so for you to relate to people, for people to relate to you, they've got to see you out and about doing good, giving back, and taking care of things. And so you go do something that you're passionate about. I'm a big believer in that. Don't just join a club to join a club or wear a name badge or have, say I'm a member of this, but go get involved and give back and help and get involved at a high level, serve on the board, organize the committee, show up and actually be really involved and affect change for good in the world. And as you do that, especially as a professional, you will get people that will take notice of you and go, oh, wow, I like the way they ran that, or I like their passion for that. If they do that this way here, they must also be that way in the way they take care of their real estate clients.
Yes, that's a very good point. And you also train and mentor new agents. What's something you always emphasize when coaching someone just starting out in this business?
Save half of what you make.
That's a good one.
Well, I didn't. I got into some real trouble years ago with the IRS when I started making, some decent money. And you're busy and you got to save all those receipts and you got to organize them. And I don't love that sitting down detail work. I love talking and showing and marketing and all that. And so I got behind, and it's something I've been willing to admit to people because it's real and it happens. And so, and it's, you will always live a life of like starvation or poverty mindset, or, oh no, what am I going to do? That deal fell apart, or I don't have anything pending in this business. If you have not saved money that you can rely on, because we're going to have a snowstorm. It's going to be cold. The rates are going to be too high, whatever. You're going to have it's cyclical always. It always has been. And so you've got to have a cushion for yourself that you can live on for the rainy days, or that you can invest back in your business. So saving money from the beginning and getting into that habit is the most important thing you can do starting out, other than building your database and focusing on your database.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. What's one challenge you see newer agents face that you didn't expect when you started coaching, and how do you help them overcome it?
I would say with the younger generation, their ability to be bold and go up and talk to people and engage people in conversation. And you have to be willing to do that. This is a belly-to-belly business. We all get lots of emails. We all get lots of texts. You've got to be willing. It's one thing to be creeping and scrolling on Facebook and be like, oh, cute. Their kid won the state UIL track meet award. Well, that is powerful knowledge. If they're a friend, past client, potential neighbor, if you have any kind of relationship with them, why don't you take that tidbit of information, go side text them, or send the kid a note card with a $5 Starbucks or Chick-fil-A or whatever, Cane's chicken, whatever kids like, high schoolers like, and say, wow, what a great job you did. I'm so proud of you. You're the future of the world or whatever, right? Or text the mom and be like, oh my gosh, I saw you got into the military. I know y'all were really hoping for that. That's so exciting. And, so you've got to be able to approach people and encourage them and relate to them and be in their life before they're ever going to think of you the next time they want to buy or sell a house, right? Because everybody knows 5 realtors or 7 or 10 or 12. And nowadays you're getting inundated with all the realtors doing the videos and the media. I mean, look, we're doing a podcast today. There's always a realtor doing something. And so it's not harassing people. Do you want to buy or sell a house? It's, hey, I am invested in you and your life and your kids and your community, our community, and what you care about.
Yeah, that's definitely a great strategy for sure, because you're taking that time to learn something personal about them, and you're, congratulating them on that, and they're going to appreciate that, and that's going to put you above those other 7 realtors that they know, because that other realtor didn't take time to learn something about you. So that's a great point.
Well, it gives you an opportunity to check in with them. Again, being a little emotional, listening, where are you at? What's happening? It can start a conversation. Like, yeah, we can't believe he's going to be gone. He's our last kid and we're going to probably downsize. We don't want this house anymore. I'm just saying it's a way to relate to people and invest in them.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about something awesome. What standout story of a time when you went above and beyond for a client, one that really stuck with you?
I don't know if I have a standout. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just kind of went blank. I feel like I give all my clients the same level of service and like checklists and follow up. And, if I got to go run over and make your bed, I'll run over and make your bed. I've never actively helped anybody move physically. And I have a good friend realtor that's done that quite a few times. So, but I would say just all the basics to me are really, really important. So.
Absolutely. Now, you've built trust with hundreds of clients. What does it feel like now to work with the children or grandchildren of your past buyers or sellers?
I love it, except it might be a little intimidating. I actually went on a listing appointment the other day, and it was a referral, but I didn't know them. And they're younger. They're probably in their 30s, early 30s. I'll be 50 this year. So, and I did my whole normal presentation and spiel, and they were so well researched. And so I couldn't even almost do my presentation because they were already asking me like every single Google, Chat GPT, wherever they got all their information from. It was very thorough. And I loved it because I love clients who make me better and keep me on my toes. But I do sometimes wonder, like, how am I going to be relevant, especially with coaching and training up kind of this next generation? And so I think that is going to continue to be a challenge and things for us to focus and learn on, is how they relate to people and how, they are the next largest group of home buyers. And so how are we going to relate to them? And do they want us to relate to them as seasoned people in the business? That's probably the hardest biggest thing coming up, I would say, is are we relevant and relatable? So because I have a lot of knowledge and I absolutely care for their best interest, right? And so some of them use me, yes, just because mom or dad said to, but I have noticed some that choose to use their friend who's their age that doesn't have the experience, but maybe because they CrossFit together or whatever. And so it's different, but it's a good reminder to keep yourself relevant. Don't become a dinosaur. Stay involved in your community and find fresh ways to relate to people.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're known for having great systems and checklists. Can you share one or two resources or tools you swear by that help you keep everything running smoothly?
Well, we use Dotloop, and I love Dotloop. So we took all of our paper checklists that used to go on the front of every folder, and I still operate off of folders for an initial listing, pre-list appointment. But my amazing, dedicated admin has slowly got me more into Dotloop in the cloud or whatever. So, but everything can go in there. You can build checklists and add, you can create a template, and then all you have to do is click it and push a button, and it loads your entire checklist for contracts for buyers or for sellers. And all of mine include follow-up after the sale in multiple forms and ways. There's a couple of things I do. So all of that is very, very important. Even sometimes if we hire part-time people to kind of help us with after follow-up, it's so easy for them to load, and it's all right there. It's easily editable. I can share all contracts and anything. It saves it forever, but I can be out on the road or on appointments and share everything right from Dotloop as a PDF. And I used zip forms before. And then when our broker decided to take on Dotloop, I was really resistant at first, but I love it.
Good.
That and Google, Gmail, and Apple Mac products, because they all communicate to each other. That has been really invaluable. I can copy and paste anything from my phone to my computer just by sharing it by text to myself. So that makes things really quick and easy for me. And then, of course, Google and Gmail communicates, like you don't ever have to reload all your contacts on a phone or anything like that.
Yep.
And I don't feel like I get much spam through Gmail, like ad spam and stuff. I don't get any of that. So those are probably my three things. I'm not fancy. I don't use any huge, big, fancy CRM or anything like that. I have a spreadsheet and a database, and I go through it and check it off. And I probably could have been a lot more successful and done a lot more business if I had started using a good CRM a long time ago. But I haven't.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've used a number of CRMs as well, and sometimes a spreadsheet is still a pretty good way to kind of keep up with things for whatever reason. Just something about paper sometimes, right? Or having one screen to look at.
Oh.
So what advice would you give to other agents about creating a scalable business while still offering that personal touch?
You have to be willing to delegate, and you probably are going to delegate your most favorite thing. My most favorite thing was the photography, the descriptions, and the marketing. Hands down, the creating of the flyers, inputting the listing, all the flowery words and editing the photos. I took all my own photos up until 2020, COVID, really. And then I just couldn't. And so but I considered them professional quality up until, that really, really became a thing too. Photos are the most important thing. They are what's going to sell or not sell your home. Let me just say that. But I had to delegate all of that, right? Like when you get to a certain level, you cannot spend time doing all the data input for listings or maintaining all the little details within a contract, all the time frames and things like that. So delegating that stuff is key to scaling a business. You will never, ever, ever sell much more than, I don't know, 30 a year or something if you don't have a trusted. I know some people use transaction coordinators and some people use virtual assistants, and those are fine. That's all a type of it. But you've got to be willing to do that. And then you have to trust them. You cannot micromanage them. And yet at the same time, you still have to treat it as everything that they do, you did. You have to take ownership if a mistake is made. They didn't make the mistake, like to where you're going to yell and cuss them out, right? You can feel frustration, but it's your business. It's your name. It's your reputation. And people will know that as long as you're consistent in the way that you do it. But you've got to delegate, and then you've got to trust them and not micromanage them, and just keep fine tuning your systems and your communication.
Yes, absolutely. So if I'm a buyer or seller working with Carrie Nuckolls' team, walk me through what that experience looks like from start to finish.
I mean, very hands-on. I am fortunate that I have a really fantastic admin. So I ask her to set up all my appointments. She prints everything for me. So when I go to the showings, I have copies of disclosures and surveys and aerial maps and of course the MLS sheet, so I can answer those questions on site right then. I make everybody gets pre-approved. We're not running around without being pre-approved. I mean, sometimes you show up and meet somebody, but we're being in a small community for the most part, or being in the business as long as I have, I can usually tell by a phone call who I'm dealing with. So those are key at connecting them with my favorite lenders that I trust, that are going to do what they say they're going to do, that aren't going to, run them around the world. And so those are key. I mean, having relationships with people, again, title companies, like being able to I closed one in 5 days the other day. It was cash. But I got something closed in 5 days. I mean, that's almost unheard of nowadays. But that's because I asked the title company that I use all the time, like, hey, here's the situation. We need to make this happen. Will you make it happen? Yes, we'll make it happen. So I would say from either side, whether you're a seller or a buyer, I am going to paperwork and document you to death. I send out congratulatory emails when we get contracts. I give you next steps for buyers and sellers. I completely hold your hand. I remind you, hey, I've sent you this to sign by text. I don't just send you a random email and never follow up. I communicate up front. If I don't respond to you within an hour or so, it is because I'm on an appointment. But if you are my client and we are in active business or negotiations, you will always get responded that day. And so communication and response time is key for me when I'm in business with anyone. And, I do a lot of texting. That's kind of the business. We get inundated with text all day, every day. And so I often respond. And even some clients will be like, well, I know you like text. I'm like, no, hold on. I love a good phone call as much as anybody. But if you want a quick response, you're going to get it text quicker. However, if you want to have a call, then you just say to me, call me, and then I'll call you, right? And so just kind of setting expectations up front, over communicating, I like to call it, micromanaging. I always tell everybody, I'm the puppet master. I'm going to manage all these people, surveyors, titles, lenders, buyers, and make sure that we get you to closing. Like I always say this too. It's one thing to say, I'm number one realtor, or I'm a top producer or whatever. But if I don't have top service and number one service, if you don't have a number one top experience as a consumer, then it's nothing to say that I've sold this much or done this much. That means nothing to anybody unless your consumer experience as a buyer or seller is phenomenal.
Absolutely. So, Carrie, you have a boutique, a podcast, a real estate team, and a family. How do you stay centered and avoid burnout?
Well, That's the one thing I forgot to say when you asked me about scaling your business. Delegating and hiring an admin, if you want to scale your business, is actually more about quality of life. That's what it's really about. It's not really about scaling your business. It will scale your business, but it will give you quality of life so that you don't hopefully experience burnout. But I will tell you, at the peak of my career is when I experienced the worst burnout ever. So, and it was just it was a compilation of things and some other, a lot of life was happening, and I was hustling and doing lots of things. I'm a huge macro thinker and visionary, and I always have lots of great ideas. And so I had put my hands to a lot of things, and I was probably closing on 70 to 80 a year. And there were a lot of people and things around me that I probably wasn't paying enough attention to the way I should. And so for me, learning not to walk into the house on a call, finishing those calls and texts before I get inside. Now, if you're in an active negotiation and it's hot, sure, of course. But for the most part, right? Keeping your phone off at dinner, especially if you have a family. Active date nights with your spouse, partner, those are really important. Turning your ringer off. You're not available at 10 o'clock at night. You're going to bed and getting rest. There's a reasonable time frame to negotiate a contract. And most people will respect that when you set your boundaries. Mm-hmm. And then I would say at some point, I really, really, really started protecting my Sundays. It's biblical, a day of rest. It actually means something. You cannot be all things to all people unless you actually spend some time disconnected and resting and whatever that looks like for you. Fishing, walking, reading, writing, yoga, it's different for everybody. But yeah, I will say I could not be the woman I am today without my husband. He is a rock. He's this when I'm doing this. And it's always been that way. And then Casey, my admin that's been with me over 8 years, she's a human resource genius and believes in the service. And so the people I've surrounded myself with, and then putting good boundaries in place and being present, be present. I don't care who you're with, your mama, your bestie, the person that annoys you the most, your clients. You're in a listing appointment. You're not checking your phone. You're not answering buyer calls or people that are freaking out. You're paying attention, and that may be 2 hours. But being present, setting boundaries, and having good people in place that you trust, and always operating with integrity, I think you'll be safe-ish from burnout.
And that kind of leads me into this question. So what role does your faith play in how you lead your team and support your clients?
It's non-negotiable for me. I was the first 2 to 3 years of real estate, I was starving and a mess. I was like just chasing anything I could get and freaking out and living like this. And oh my gosh. And I just had to realize that you take care of people and the money will take care of itself. And you have to work hard. I mean, you have to work this job like a 40 to 50 hour a week job if you want to actually make a living and a consistent living. And so I will say that every year in January, I go, oh my God, how am I ever going to sell what I sold again? My husband, he laughs at me. He has for years. He's like, really, honey? You're going to do it. You're going to say it again, And so just surrendering to the Lord, That's what my faith has done for me. I actually have it tattooed on my wrist, and I'm not a big tattoo person, but it says surrender. That's what you have to do every day. This job is a humbling job. And if it's not, then you're probably not doing it right. If you have not been humbled by this job, this career, these people, these processors, then oh no. So you've got to surrender every day, and you've got to say, not my will, but yours. And, and if you're not super religious, okay, not my needs, my clients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really what it is. But sometimes they don't know what they need. You know what they need because you've actively listened to all parties, and you're able to dice through those things. That's a tangent I could get off on. But so faith for me is really, I guess, a surrender and a rest. It's trust, rest, surrender. Everything. And if that means you got to keep a gratitude journal every day and say, okay, these 5 things I'm grateful for, and these 5 things I'm going to pray for that are not about me, that are out in the world or about somebody else, that perspective too. Perspective is a really important thing in this business.
Absolutely. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your faith, and your story with us today. For anyone in Northeast Texas looking to buy, sell, or even agents who want to learn from a true pro, you need to follow Carrie. You can connect with her at Carrie Nuckolls, liveeasttexas.com, or visit her boutique, Everything Unique in Sulphur Springs, and there will be additional contact information for you in the show notes. And if you're a buyer getting ready to take the next step, or a seller looking to unlock the value of your home, I'd love to help. Visit dreamhomepodcast.com or reach out to me directly at CMG Home Loans. Thanks for listening to the Dream Home Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use some inspiration today. See you next time. Carrie, thanks again so much. We really enjoyed visiting with you today.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. I appreciate you having me on. Good luck and many blessings in 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Dream Home Podcast, hosted by John Nagle. Ready to take the next step toward your dream home? Visit www.dreamhomepodcast.com for resources, tips, and expert advice. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and join us next time for more real estate insights and mortgage tips. Until then, happy home hunting.